So in the last video, we added a UFO for us to shoot at. But we didn't add any events, so now we're going to fix that. So we'll drop into edit mode, and we're going to edit the UFO and give it some events. So because we're far away from it, we're going to select edit nodes, and then from the volumetric menu, you can see we've got your UFO arrow pointed towards it. And what we're going to do first of all on the properties, we're going to say that it's going to start hidden. And let's add an event. So we'll say state changed. We're going to add a new one. We're going to call this event arrive. So this is relevant to the first state. And it's going to get this event when it starts the game because the first state is the default state. So when that happens, we're going to tell it to change its visibility because we've just said it's hidden. We're going to affect this node. We're going to show the node. And we're going to tell it to zoom towards us, so it's just arriving from space. We'll give that a few seconds to come into play. Okay, so now we've got the ship visible. What we're going to do next is detect the overlap. So let's create an overlapped event. And we'll call this hit. And we want to do something when an overlap begins. And it's only relevant to the first state. Because it's already been hit, we don't want to do this. And we want to test for an overlap with another node. And that other node is in this location, and it is the bomb. And the bomb should be in a shot state. So you've got to launch it from the launcher. Hotspots we don't need at the moment, we'll come to those later. So what should happen when it's hit? Well, we created some states for it to go through in the last video. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the node state. And it's currently in first state, we're going to change it to hit. And because it's an impact and it's going to show it off kilter, we want that to happen pretty quickly. So just give it a small amount there. And we're also, I'll actually do this before, we also want to raise a named event. And we're going to call this bang. So a named event will basically send this signal to all the nodes and they can react to that. And the explosion and the bomb are already coded to react to this event. And we've put that before because the change node has got this wait enabled, so we don't want it to delay before the explosion happens. Okay, so that's going to do the impact changes to the hit state. So let's do a state changed again now. And we can say, okay, when the state has been changed to hit, what do we want it to do? So this only applies to the hit state. And all we want to do in this case is change our node state to full. And that can happen instantly. And just to remind you what the states are, so that's the original state, that's the hit state, and this is the full state. So it just gets rid of those impact lines. And we'll add one more. So now I want to say, well, when it reaches the full state, what shall we do? So this only applies to full. And what we want to do now is change the visibility to say we want to hide the UFO. So it's going to affect this node. We're going to hide it. And rather than just fade it out, we're going to make it fall away. So again, we'll give it a couple of seconds to animate over. And it's just getting rid of the node by making it fall away for us. Now you can see the wait is enabled. So after that has completed, we'll add a delay, maybe a second. And then we want to make the spaceship come back so we can hit it again. So to do that, all we've got to do is change its node state to the first state, and that's going to make it zoom back into play again. Okay, and let's see if we've got that right. So we get the bomb, load it, aim to the spaceship, gets hit, falls away, delays for a second, and then zooms back in. You'll see the bomb's also reset. So let's have a quick look at the events on the other nodes. So I mentioned that when the overlap event occurs with the UFO, it raises the named event. So this is how you consume them. So we say named event, the event name is bang. So when that happens, we move this node, the explosion, over to the bomb location. We make it face the player so we can see it. We play a sound effect, and then we show the explosion. And what this does, this time it uses the scale modifier. So it goes from small up to its current size, giving the explosion effect. And then it hides the explosion, just takes it away. If we look at the bomb has got a looked at event, and we've seen that before where it moves the node towards the player's hand when they're looking at it. It has got events for being grabbed and released. So a grab changes its state so that you can no longer attract it by looking at it. And if you look at the fire, so this only happens when it's been loaded. So it's in the state when it's been loaded into the launcher. And when we launch it, it plays a sound effect. It detaches from the launcher. It changes the launcher's state back to ready, so you can put another bomb in it. And it starts moving the node forward and changes the bomb state to shot, so it's ready for the impact collision detection. There's also a proximity event on the bomb. So this is if you miss, if it gets over 10 meters away from us, then it just raises the event bang just to set off the explosion, just so it's just not traveling forever. And we've got the named event. So if it gets a named event saying it's exploded, which is what happens when it hits the UFO, then what does it do? So it stops moving the bomb, it hides itself, delays for a second, and then it moves back to its default position so we can grab it and use it again, and resets its state back to the original status. So next we want to start thinking about how we move the spaceship and make this a little more challenging.